Hey everybody, welcome to more Goosey County Dog Howloween. So today we're going to talk about King Ramses' curse, the clutching foot, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the gods must be Goosey. So here we go. So first episode is obviously King Ramses' curse. So King Ramses' curse is an episode about. It starts off with two thieves that have just taken a slab from King Ramses' tomb, and they are followed by this curse of King Ramses, who is this really weird, misshapen ghost, I guess. And he tells him, "Return the slab." By the way, this was not an episode that's been talked about by the Nostalgia Critic or Doug Walker during his Dark Tunes episodes. So instead of doing so, he sends a curse after them, or a plague. So they put it below the. Before this, they dig a hole next to this water pump and put the slab in there. And then they, get cursed by King Ramses, and then they, obviously disappear. We don't know what happens to them because it cuts away for a few seconds while this is happening. So, Courage goes and digs this up after, seeing what the events that happened. And Eustace sees it and he says, "This is garbage, funky garbage, from the garbage dynasty." And he finds out that it's worth $1 million. So he goes back out and gets it and calls the newspaper. Obviously, the curator asks for it back, and he says, he tells him, "What's your offer?" So he gives him a tote bag. He's like, "No," and then obviously he starts talking about what he does. What is he's going to do with this $1 million? And then King Ramsey comes up. When King Ramsey is seen outside, he goes, "Return the slab." And this is going to be like, "Oh, suffer my curse." So this is going to be the whole thing of the episode. And he says, And Eustace says, "What's your offer?" And then he tells him they're going to be visited by 3 curses, with 3 plagues. First of which is a flood. So when the first plague disappears, a whole flood happens just in the house, not outside, but in the house. And Courage goes down to the basement, and there's a plug in the basement. He plugs it in all the water drains. And so he's like, "Oh, come on." So he still refuses. So he unleashes the next curse, which is the curse in the next plague, which is the plague of annoying music. And I get it because no one likes annoying music. I kind of want Bugs Bunny to come in and say something about monotonous, isn't it? Because it is. So Courage goes out, finds a record player, smashes it, and then King Ramsey's still out there, and then he unleashes, and then after that, Eustace says, "Oh, I'll give you Okay, but $1 million is as low as I'll go. And King Ramses unleashes the third one, which is locusts. And so, I guess, I kind of think the reason why they went with the whole music is because I guess they couldn't really do the whole boils, because that would be kind of disgusting. So, it starts eating the whole house, and Bjorn starts making stuff. And Goosey finally gives up the slab. But after that fact, he decides to take it up again. He goes, ha ha ha, you're on plague, buddy. He forgets that he still can call upon the plague. And he makes it disappear. So the episode ends with Muriel and Courage sitting on her rocking chair. And they see the slab that's been returned, and Eustace is now part of it. And you get him to say, what's your offer? Alright, so the second episode, The Clutching Foot, is an episode about a fungus that is a gangster. Yes, I'm not kidding. It's a gangster. So, the episode begins with Eustace, Muriel, and Courage sitting in the bed. Laying in bed, and Eustace is laying there and scratching his foot. And he knocks Courage off, and he's like, "Stupid dog, what are you itching my foot for?" And obviously Muriel looks at the foot, and she says, "Oh, looks like you got a small fungus." So they tried different remedies, from a cactus to a bunch of lobsters, to some kind of smelly mixture of food. So she decides it's time to go to the doctor. He's like, I'm not going to go to the doctor. So he decides to go to sleep, go to take a nap, and he thinks his foot is healed, but it turns out that it is not. And he turns into a giant foot with 5 toes. The big toe being the boss. And he decides to go do some stuff, some illegal stuff. The first of which, and he decides that Courage is going to drive him, or the fat lady gets it, see? By the way, who thinks that this is inspired by not just the Godfather, but also inspired by the Three Stooges? Because they're always doing stuff. So, the first thing they do is go to the bank. And obviously, Courage goes in through the ATM. And Courage drops. And of course, there is an acid pool. So he drops his shoe in there. And then he drops some ice cubes after drinking his, I guess, lemonade. With the ice cubes, he starts screaming. He comes out and starts screaming. I can't believe I thought that would work. So he decides to go up to the bank vault, tries to open the vault, and then he tries to pry it open, and then he uses dynamite. Apparently, his dialing doesn't right. It just took a while. So he blows up the bank and the money. He goes, "You blew up the money, you stupid dog." So they go to knock over a train. So he tells him, "Yeah, see, you're going to some train. Is that way?" in doing so, but there's one thing. He starts eating a banana while he's waiting for this to happen. Anyway, the guy slits on a banana and kicks on the train. Said, "You made me kick too hard, see?" So the last thing they're going to do is knock over Florida. So Curtis goes upstairs and tells him about the foot fungus, and the computer tells him, "A foot fungus? Have you tried regular bathing?" "No, the barber." So he decides to tell. The computer tells him to go get a sample. He does and gives it to the computer, which I don't understand how a CD-ROM could do this, but it's a cartoon. So he gives it to him and goes, "Yuck! Tooey." So he tells him the only cure for that is dog drool. And so he goes back down and starts licking the fungus. And obviously it turns to spectromal, and then he decides to, and then after that, Trace goes and busts his teeth, mouthwash, and he goes, "Yeah." And the fungus has grown inside of the mouth. So the next episode is The Hunchback of Nowhere. The Hunchback of Nowhere is probably one of my top favorite episodes of season 1, because I kind of like The Hunchback. I actually like The Hunchback of Notre Dame, so seeing them is pretty funny. The episode starts off with him looking for a place to stay, and everyone turns away because he's ugly. Okay, he is, but you don't have to be so mean to him. So he finally gets to the farmhouse. He asks for a place to stay, and Eustace tells him, "Well, you have no place for the likes of you." And so Joyce is like, "We could at least put him in the attic." So Curtis goes outside and hears bells. And obviously, if you've seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame or have heard of him, you know that he likes bells. He's always been in a belfry. So he goes up and they start ringing bells, and they start like doing trapeze acts. Obviously, there's a haystack in the middle. Oh, by the way, before this, Eustace tells Curtis to go get his raincoat. Anyway, so Eustace goes inside the barn and starts howling for him, and he tells him, after he gives him the raincoat, he goes, "I got something for you, dog." He's got, ever seen those big old eyes? Those ones that come out. That's basically what I was go, "Bugga, bugga, bugga." So, and him and Hunchback both start doing shadow puppets. And one of them being Eustace. Stupid dog. And anyway, he goes inside next morning, and Muriel gives him Curtis pancakes. She says, "Any friend of Curtis is a friend of mine." So at least 2 people are nice to him. So Eustace comes in and screams. He's like, I told you there was no place for the likes of you." And Muriel tells him, "Stop being so rude to Curtis' friend. I'll even give you the blueberries you like so much." So he decides to tell him to start making fun of him. He goes, "You always smell ugly. You. And Courage gives him a piece of paper that gives him a retort. "You, sir, are extremely bald." And each time he comes up with that, he says, and he goes, "You look like something the cow spit up." And then he goes, "And you, sir, are extremely bald." And everybody goes, "Yeah, it's worse than this. Is this?" And he tells him, "Are you bald?" "Yes." So he decides, Muriel tells him, "Stop picking on our poor guest. Or you can eat out in the hen house." He goes, "He called me bald." He says, "Yeah, I'm bald." So he goes, later that day, they decide to hold a concert where Muriel is listening after Eustace tells her he's hungry. And during the concert, he sees that the Hunchback is wearing his raincoat. And so he goes up and he says, tells him to give him his raincoat, and then he tells him, "Yeah, let's rise the back as I can't see you." Of course, he picks up Courage, and Hunchback decides that enough is enough, and scares poor Eustace with his own face. And he falls off the barn. Of course, he tried to catch him, but it's too late. Anyway, the episode ends with him having to leave, the Hunchback and Laura having to leave, and Courage and him say one less ding on the bells, and he leaves. Alright, so now it's time to talk about the last episode today, The Gods Must Be Goosey. So, The Gods Must Be Goosey is a unique episode. Again, it's not a monster per se, but it's so funny. So, there's this goose god, okay? And he tells him and he tells the audience he wants a wife. So he starts seeing Muriel, who is taking a flower of sorts out to the outside to get some rain, which they think is going to happen. And the goose god sees her, and he wants her as his wife. So he decides to. First thing he does is he revives the flowers, right? Makes it into a big bouquet. Next thing he does, of course, he decides to, not gaze upon her anymore. He goes, "You're fat. You have go real. You have go fat. You have go real fat." Anyway, so the next thing he does is he decides to give her flowers and chocolates. Of course, he thinks that Eustace is the one that gives her the flowers and chocolates. And Courage goes, "No, it was that goose thing." So the next thing he does, he gives her a field full of flowers. and his eternal love. Goosey doesn't really want them because he already has a husband. The next thing he does, couple of scenes, is him encouraged trying to get fighting over who wants her to stay with Eustace. First thing he does is he plays a harp. Kurt plays a harp, and the goose starts feeding him. Oh, by the way, during this entire episode, Eustace is working on his car, his truck, which has no horn. So he decides the second thing he does is the goose sings Goosey Muriel, Goosey Muriel, Goosey Muriel, forever. Thank you. And then Kurt does the same thing for Eustace and Muriel. But then he interrupts him with a bunch of food. But Muriel decides to tell him that again he's taken by Eustace. Of course, he decides to take her by force, since he will not allow her to take him. So Curry goes up and blasts the horn, and the goose god goes up and says, "What is that sound?" He thinks the truck is a goose. So they exchange honks, and he takes the truck to heaven, be with her to Valhalla. So the episode ends with Yo-Yo and Curry's getting an invitation to a wedding for the goose god and the truck. And Eustace being upset because his truck is gone. Anyway, and Curry's going, burp, burp. Anyway, that is the end of today's episode. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Queen of the Black Puddle. Everyone wants to direct. The Snowman Cometh. And the Princess Wonderful, Adorable, Lovely Duckling. Which is a weird episode. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll see you guys tomorrow.